Welcome to Beyond the OR with Dr. Kevin Brenner. I'm a board-certified plastic surgeon in Beverly Hills. I want to take you beyond my world of plastic surgery, diving deep into exciting hot topics and delving even deeper into compelling characters that I've met along the way. We'll be talking with attorneys, actors, comedy writers, Navy SEALs, and many other fascinating and inspiring people with truly intriguing stories to share. So let's jump right in. Today in studio, I'm very excited. We have with us Amanda Porta. Amanda is the holistic beauty coach. She is a former patient of mine, and most importantly, she is now a very important part of my holistic breast team for our breast implant illness patients in our office. So please help me welcome Amanda.
Amanda.
Hello.
Hey.
Welcome to our show.
Thank
Finally,
you.
like we've been talking about this for a while, and we finally did it.
Oh, I feel so honored to be a guest.
Well, so yeah, we Elizabeth and I talk about like how we come to find guests on the show, and it's always kind of like people that I've interacted with, that I've been influenced by, that I've worked with, that I've worked for, etc. And this is a perfect example because now I have today actually two patients with me, both of whom I'm now working with in different capacities.
Yeah.
It's like I feel like George Costanza, where the two Georges are colliding.
The summer of Kevin.
So you and I met 4-ish years ago.
Well, the very end of 2018.
So 4 years ago.
Yeah, about 4 years ago.
And when you came in as a patient, and so we did that, and then in talking with you during your recovery period, you're very persuasive, right? And have been really instrumental, not only a joy to work with, but instrumental in helping me sort of reformulate how we go about patient care for some of our patients.
Yeah.
And so viewers may not know, but like you are maybe not in the office every day, but you are working with us every day. Lord knows we talk to each other just about every day, if not verbally, by text or email, and have really become an essential part of everything that we're doing for our patients. So let's begin at the beginning.
Okay.
Let's find out stuff that I may not know about you yet.
Oh.
Ooh, that'll be fun.
Although
That is fun.
I do know a lot about you, but
You
I feel
know.
like every time we talk, I'm like, oh, you really? You did that?
Yeah.
So you are from the Northwest, right?
I'm from Northern California, from Hillsborough.
Originally.
Originally from
But
Hillsborough.
then moved to Seattle when?
I did in 1990.
Okay. So tell us, why were you in Seattle?
So my stepfather started a business there, and it was so funny. We lived, in Northern California, and I think people think there's nothing else that exists beyond California when you grow up here.
Yeah.
And I remember saying, we're moving to Washington? I thought it was Washington, D.C. I didn't even know.
By the way, if you grew up in Southern California, nothing exists outside of Southern California. Northern California is like another state.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
So.
No, and so we moved there. It's such an interesting time. It's when Starbucks started up and the whole .com phenomena. So I actually went to a very, a FAME, performing arts school. It was very small.
Oh my goodness. What,
Yeah.
to be a dancer, a singer?
I love all art, and so I actually did. I always say that I wanted to be a dancer, and that's true. But I also was kind of toying with the idea of being an architect.
Ooh.
So yeah, I've my whole life just drawing, all mediums really. I love watercolor but anyway, and dancing. So yeah, it was a very small school, just like FAME, in the heart of downtown Seattle. I had 11 people in my class, all through high school. 11.
Oh my
So
God.
you graduated high school from a performing arts high school?
Yeah.
And then
And then I went to Gonzaga because I think that, going to school with such a small class, I wasn't really ready to go into a classroom with 2,000 people. And Gonzaga was a great school. Spokane wasn't really my cup of tea. So I transferred after the first year to University of Washington, and that's where I graduated.
What was your major?
Well, it was going to be communications, speech comm. That's what I started. But when I got to University of Washington, that program was no longer. So I just did liberal arts.
Oh,
So I have a liberal
awesome.
arts degree.
UW.
UW.
Right? You call it UW. People mistakenly think, I went to Wisconsin. People mistakenly call Wisconsin UW for people who don't really know.
Oh.
But no one ever calls helps with that.
Oh, interesting.
Not if you go there.
No.
Washington's UW, and it's a
UW.
great nickname.
It's a great
I really wish that Wisconsin was UW, but it doesn't work that way. They weren't that creative in Wisconsin. A lot of cheese and cows and beer, but not good nickname.
You had me on the cheese and the beer.
Yeah.
All right, so how did you get from Washington and down all the way down to Southern California working in plastic surgery?
Yeah, I'm surprised I did, truly, because it was never my plan.
It's like a bizarre segue, right?
It's a little bit of a bizarre segue, but I think that like your life is already kind of planned out for you. So I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do in school. And so I was looking at fashion merchandising, like I said, architecture, but math is not my jam. So I knew I probably wasn't going to be an architect.
You would have been an architect who got sued a lot if you weren't really good with angles.
Could you imagine? I would be terrible. So I got into the .com field, and so that's what everyone was doing at the time. This was, let's see, 1998 when I graduated from college. So that's kind of what everyone was doing, and I got to work for it was the first men's online clothing company. And it was Christmas of, I think, 1998. That was the first year we were doing online sales, Savvy. And
is it still around? I feel like
it was for a long time. And my friends, growing up, they're J. Jacobs, the clothing store, and so they parlayed that into this really quality men's clothing, but online.
And what were you doing for them?
So I was hired to be the office manager, but then, of course, like with many small companies, you wear so many hats. So I was the model for the website. I was the office manager. I did marketing for them. I did a little bit of everything. But it was interesting because that first year, we were all just packaging up things to sell. We went from 7 orders in the first few months to, I think, over 10,000 in just a couple.
Oh my God.
Because that was the first online shopping that I got to be part of. So I really learned how to wear many hats, and I think that it really satisfied my entrepreneurial spirit because I've always really been like that. I'm a creative, so I just love to create. And
it's that artist in you.
Yeah. So that's what I did. And then from there, I started working at a day spa. It was kind of the #1 day spa in Seattle. And I loved helping women. And they would all come to the spa just to get my little beauty tips that were natural. And I found that they really gravitated towards that, and it was something really needed. And so then I had a friend of mine who is a plastic surgeon start coming into the spa to do nights just educating women on injectables and those sort of things. And so I kind of got the idea for med spas even before med spas was a thing. And I had wanted to create my own, but I ended up working for one.
And then how did you transfer down here?
I've always had a pull, a draw to Southern California. I don't know why. I love the nostalgia. I love the architecture. I'm pretty sure I probably had a lifetime in the 1920s because I really resonate with that old Hollywood feeling, and I love Spanish architecture, 1920s Spanish.
And so you're like, I'm going to come to LA.
Yeah.
Work in plastic surgery.
Well, I just felt like I wanted to move to LA and be in the sunshine, and
because it's so cliche. I'm going to move to LA
Right.
plastic surgery, says the plastic surgeon who works in Beverly Hills.
Right.
Because I grew up in Beverly Hills. The only reason I'm in Beverly Hills, well, the main reason I'm in Beverly Hills is because I grew up here.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is kind of a plastic surgery capital.
Right. I mean, I don't think I like Southern California for the reasons most people do. I don't even really go to the beach. I have a real issue with sand.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I go to the
do.
beach once a week. It's a must.
Really?
Yeah.
I love the beach.
I have
I
an
go for 2
aversion to
hours.
sand. Yeah.
Are you allergic to it, or are you just?
I can't. It
Allergic
goes.
to sand.
My aunt.
Allergic to sand?
Yeah, she gets little rashies.
I don't get rashes, but I had OCD as a child.
I don't know if that's true. Yeah.
I had OCD when I was younger, and it's the feeling, it's the texture.
Oh, it's a texture.
I
Gotcha.
can't. So, but it was funny because when I met you, I was living in Manhattan Beach, and my friends would give me the worst.
That makes a lot of sense.
Makes zero sense. I know. They would say, okay, so you don't go to the beach, you don't go in the water, and you don't like the sand. And I said, right. And they said, but you live in Manhattan Beach. I said, I know, because it's so pretty.
I love being by the water.
Me too.
I do too.
I had an architect friend of mine who hated the sound of the ocean. He said he couldn't stand it,
Really?
like the sound
It's
of.
so peaceful.
Oh,
That's what I'd love
That's
to
what
I'm
makes
fall
me-
asleep to.
Me too.
Yes,
Me
I love
too.
it.
Well, it was funny when I actually did look to get a job in Beverly Hills in plastic surgery. You know, I was already at a point where I was already getting into holistic health. And one of the first surgeons I worked for down here, I even said to him, you know what, you're not going to want to hire me. I'm into holistic health now. I don't believe that you can have beauty on the outside if you're not healthy on the inside. And he said, are you kidding? Yeah, I want to hire you. I want to work with you. And so we were implementing even back then, prior to 2012, getting patients ready, detoxing them before surgery, giving them IVs. So we see that happening now. I think I was just a little bit early.
Yeah, I read that you've been in the plastic industry, plastic surgery for over 20 years or 20 years. Is that correct?
Beauty industry, so
Yeah,
everything
beauty
from
industry.
day spa, med spa, all
Right.
the way up. I didn't necessarily sell implants that whole time. I did different things, you know, marketing and so forth.
Right.
So you went from selling implants to completely discouraging implants.
I love that story though.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
Well, I mean, to be perfectly honest with you, I mean, since we've started working together, it really has shifted my perspective quite a bit. Not that I wasn't doing it before, but it's really, I really went from like kind of doing explant surgery and taking care of breast implant illness patients to like focusing on that.
Right.
So,
Right.
and that's made a huge difference, right?
Yeah, well, and I think when I remember speaking to you during maybe one of my post-ops, or maybe it was even my first consult.
wait, because I just want to backtrack because I don't think we really touched on this. It's not really
did
clear,
not.
but you
Thank
were a
you.
patient
Yes.
first.
Yes, I was a patient first. So when I did start finding out a little bit more about breast implant illness, and I thought, you know, this resonates with me. I had been sick for 7.5 years. I went to 67 doctors in that time, all different specialties. We could not figure it out. I did have little things like, you know, a rash that would form sometimes just under the implants. I flew all around the country trying to get help. I went to a medical medium, if you will, and she kept saying, there's something, it's about your chest. But I still wasn't putting it together until I met with a new practitioner, a colonic practitioner, and she said, I think I know why you're sick. So that was at the end of 2018.
Wow.
Right, which is when we started, well, probably 2017 is when we started seeing the name appear, right?
Yes.
And I mean, we've talked about this ad nauseum. It's like, it doesn't make sense, right? The whole idea, if you are a Western trained doctor, which is what I am, it doesn't make a lot of sense on the surface, and which explains why there's so much resistance to it,
Right.
in particular in the medical community. You know, the people don't either they don't believe that it can happen, or they just think that you're crazy for even thinking that it can happen.
Right, right.
But as you and I know, we take care of patients, and both of you guys are perfect examples of it. Right? Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but different people now, right? I mean, like
Totally.
you're,
Oh,
you just like your lives changed from having chronic health problems to not having chronic health problems, and
to
then
flourishing.
To flourishing.
to becoming my Ed McMahon.
Oh, great.
It's truly a rebirth. That's how I look at it.
Yes, I agree.
It really is. And I mean, I met you at my very worst. This man has seen me at my absolute worst. You know, by the time I rolled into his office, I had already been to 3 other surgeons' offices, all of which had that same attitude. This does not exist. This isn't real. And I said to them, I challenged them, and I said, but I was just in a group, a support group with over 150,000 women who all list the same symptoms I'm experiencing, sounds just like it, and then they remove their implants and they feel so much better. And so I said, I'm willing to try this, regardless of if it works or not. But it didn't even seem to want to really remove them.
Yeah, and I don't.
Or they would want to just change the
Replace
bags.
them.
Yeah.
Replace
Which
them.
is very interesting, Amanda, because you went from selling, I just have to say this again because it's so interesting, selling implants to now being one of the biggest vocal advocates for BII, against implants. So that's like, I think, life full circle, like you know, and you've dedicated, like most of your work is now to that, whether, you know.
Patient advocacy really is what the future is for me, I believe. But yeah, no, and it was interesting. I remember saying that to you. I said, Dr. Brenner, you're not going to believe this, but there are groups on Facebook that have hundreds of thousands of sick. And at first, you know, he doesn't know what I'm talking about, just as I didn't know really before that.
Well, I mean, obviously at that time I had a social media presence, but the groups you're talking about are not.
They're private.
There's no doctors in them, right? It's a private group.
No, it's private.
Even if I wanted to be part of the group, I couldn't be part of the group.
Right.
And there's, as I understand, and I just hear this from patients like you guys, is that there's a lot of groups.
A lot. I think 237 the last time I heard.
Yeah, there's over like over 250 private Facebook groups about women getting sick. And now you have, with social media, now we have all these women coming out, which unfortunately and fortunately celebrities are coming out, which that's usually when things start to get heard, is because celebrities are speaking out about it.
Well, they're finally speaking. I mean, we've because of where we are, we've taken care of several of them who may not be vocal about it, but it goes so far beyond that. And even in some cases, when some celebrities have come out, I mean, I don't know if there's been any like major A-listers who've come out to talk about it, but there's been a lot of reality TV stars.
And it's been
Danica Patrick. I mean, there's
amazing.
I mean, you can probably name 15, 20 people who are at least relatively well known who have come out and talked about it. And has it pushed the needle at all?
Yeah. I mean, from my standpoint, I have one of the largest Instagram followings for BII, but it's also, I speak about wellness because I really enjoy educating others, and so I want women, men to learn too how to do some detox things on their own, etc., and just how to take better care of yourself. We should all be proactive in our health. But you know, and so when I said to him, there are all these women, hundreds of thousands. I have been a patient care coordinator for most of those 20 years. If I didn't care about patients, I wouldn't have been doing that job. So I feel like it's my moral obligation, having worked in the industry and now this knowledge that I have, to pass it on to others. If I didn't, I think that would be highly irresponsible.
Well, yeah, it was a tremendous help to me. And just in the last year since you did my explant, that I've had 2 girlfriends that have, you know, now removed their implants, and unfortunately one of them has lymphoma now, and I think it could be from the implants.
Systemic lymphoma or from around the implant lymphoma?
Around like in the neck area here.
Because those are where our lymph nodes are.
Yeah. So I mean, it's great work what you're doing. It's important work. I mean, I'm you know, we're not here to advocate get them or don't get them. You know, everybody has to make their own decisions, but it's always good. I always say make informed decisions. You know, so it's good to know.
Absolutely.
And I mean, and that's the thing that when I hear resistance from especially from plastic surgeons, and I'm the first person to say that, you know, breast implants are not going to go away. I mean, they do serve an important function for some people, and a lot of people have them and are fine their entire lifetime. They don't have any symptoms from it
Until they're not.
But until they're not,
right?
But it's and you may not ever get it if you have implants, but if you do, you shouldn't be cast aside, and that's what I think bothered me the most about it, is that people just were not being listened to.
Right.
And that's what I hear, number one, from patients, is just that I'm willing to listen to them, which I am, because even though I can't promise anything, if at the end of the day, I mean, for some people, it's just a game changer.
It was for me.
For so many of our patients.
You too. Like
Total game
when
changer.
I was going through it, I would call Amanda literally almost every day crying. Like, I don't know, I feel like I'm being.
You were the one?
It was me. She was the one going, just get them out of her. She's driving me crazy.
Yeah, because your surgery was put off. That was probably
because of all the issues.
Yeah.
But now, like it's not so far fetched because we just had another doctor that was on the show a couple of weeks ago, and she was talking about mesh illness has a lot of the same symptoms as BII. So I mean, listen, I think eventually things will they're not going to go away, but at least women, it's like smokers. If you want to smoke cigarettes, at least know you're going to get cancer somewhere.
Right.
But and if you want to smoke it, then do it. So if you want implants, you might not ever get sick, but you might. So.
And I've used that analogy before. I don't know if it's the best analogy, but it's true. I mean, we're not going to stop selling cigarettes in this country just because people will get lung cancer from it or emphysema. Like you know that if you're a regular smoker, you're at a significantly higher risk for lung cancer and emphysema and heart disease and lots of other things.
Right.
But it doesn't mean that it's going to happen to you. I mean, there are some cockroaches walking around, smoking 3 packs a day of cigarettes.
You just sounded like Tony Montana right now.
You're like, really?
Some cockroaches going around smoking.
Well, when we're all gone, we all know that the cockroaches are going to be ruling this place.
But doctors and surgeons should want better informed consent as well, because then the patient does take on the responsibility and doesn't come back to you and get upset.
But I mean, I've been a patient. You want to. I've been a patient. I've been an advocate for my kids who need health care and stuff. And as a parent of a patient, and as a patient, like you should know. I by the way, oftentimes, even though I know a lot of doctors, when something happens to you personally or a family member, people don't really. People think, oh, you're a doctor. Well, you can and you can figure it out. Well, not always. I mean. I've had situations in the past where we're equally like dumbfounded, like, oh Jesus, really? I got to deal with this, and where do I go? Who do I talk to? Who's the best? What's the right move?
Right.
And I mean, yeah, I have a little bit of insider knowledge, but it doesn't mean that I'm not as lost as someone else who has a major medical problem. Because I've been there, and I was.
Right.
Fortunately, I've been able to find the right people. But I was at CVS the other day. I had to pick up a medication, and I'm standing in line. And I just happened that I come home from work, and I was still in my scrubs, and I just had to run out. It was like 9 o'clock at night. I'm like, I went to CVS, which is the only 24-hour pharmacy, and I'm waiting in line. And this guy behind me, he looks at me. He's like, "You're an MD. Why are you waiting in line? Don't you know somebody?" He's like, "Why do you have to wait in line?" I'm like. I mean, I'm a patient too sometimes. I mean,
you guys are probably the worst patients too, doctors.
Oh, for sure.
The worst.
Doctors and nurses are the worst patients.
I'm sure.
Doctors are worse than nurses, but yeah, we're the worst patients because we think we know it all.
Well, I came from Western medicine background. My father was a doctor. I was raised, and so this has been really different for me to get in the holistic health. And I think that we can learn from each other. Dr. Brenner's really open, so he's been, I would be telling him even if he wasn't open. I'm not.
Well, yeah.
she would be telling.
But
well, it's great because you have the holistic and then you have the medical.
Yeah.
So, and I think that combined, some people aren't going to want holistic, some people aren't going to want Western.
Absolutely.
So having
yeah.
an option of having both is...
Yeah, everyone deserves options.
And having that too, like part of a holistic breast team is that's unheard of right now. So that's pretty cutting edge of you to do.
Cutting edge of Amanda.
Of Amanda.
But he agreed. I couldn't have done it without you.
We put it together, but yeah, I mean, I probably would have never done it were it not for you, kind of pushing the envelope a little bit.
Well, and also you seeing the difference, right? Like you see you see Amanda coming in one way, and you see her, as time after surgery, completely like a different person.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure you see that a lot.
Oh,
when
yeah.
You have to after your surgeries.
Every week.
Yeah.
When I walked into his office, like I said, it was my rock bottom. I had now started meeting with these surgeons, really excited, thinking, okay, maybe this is it. And you know, 7.5 years may not sound like a long time, but when you're sick every day for 7.5 years and you don't know what it is,
Yeah, it's draining.
and it's really scary.
Scary.
And I think that I'm just like I've always been like that, like proud and capable, like I'm not gonna let anybody see me vulnerable. And I needed to get really vulnerable in the end with that. In fact, I think that was the most vulnerable I'd ever been was with Dr. Brenner the morning of my surgery. And it was funny because guys I dated over the years, they'd always say to me, and I respected it, they're like, you know, Amanda, you're never gonna have a serious relationship until you can get vulnerable. And I would be so stubborn. I'd be like, I'm not doing it then. I won't have a relationship because I'm not gonna get vulnerable.
Well, that's your choice.
I know, right? So I remember though the morning of, I mean, I was in tears because his whole staff, his whole OR team, so amazing.
Yeah.
And they were like, we're gonna get you better today. And when you've been chronically ill for 7.5 years, you can't even imagine what better is gonna feel like because you haven't felt that way in so long. We were crying and then he came in and he was drawing on me. And remember what I said? He doesn't remember what I said.
Look, I see a little halo over you.
Yeah. I was
Totally not.
no.
Oh no, it's a little horns coming out now.
No, but I was crying and I said, you know, just don't make me look like a little girl. You know, that's what in kind of my last moments was thinking before I had surgery. And then just getting on the OR table, my last thoughts were, how did I get this lucky to meet these amazing people?
That was your last thought?
That was my last
even
thought.
After you got the Versed?
I think so.
Well, that's amazing because you took something that was really horrible, and not only got better, but now you're helping other women.
Mm-hmm. No, and I've never even been angry about the situation. I don't choose to live my life that way. I just accepted it as I was supposed to go through this, and it makes me better at what I do because I really have gone through it all, so I can relate to what these patients are going through. And you know, when I finally figured out, I thought, if I had had someone to talk to through any part of this, it would have made all the difference. It would have changed everything. And if we can get the message out there, so if a woman is having the same reaction that I did, she can find out faster. There's no reason I should have had to suffer for 7.5 years when I work in the industry.
But that's why you have to be your own advocate.
Yes.
You know, like when you're not feeling right, and no matter what a doctor says, oh, you're fine, you're fine, you're fine. If there's something, and I remember when I was in the hospital with pancreatitis, a nurse came up to me and I was like, I'm not ready to go home. And he's like, be your own advocate. If you're not ready, you got to say something.
Awesome. So
amazing. Amanda, did you grow up in a big family or?
I have a brother, a younger brother.
Oh, okay.
He's 3.5 years younger than me.
Okay.
And but I have all male cousins except for one girl. So I've grown up with all boys.
Yeah, because
even
though you're very feminine, you have like a male like kind of energy about you.
For sure.
I do too. I have very well, my voice.
What male energy does she have?
Well, it's not.
I'm a little alpha for sure.
Yeah.
I do like to
It's-
drive.
Well, alpha and male energy are different.
Yeah, but you know, I like, you know, big wheels. Like I don't care about fancy
Have you seen her
designer
car?
shoes. I care about
her
like
car.
I want
She's got
big tires.
bitchin' truck. You know,
It is big.
yeah.
No.
She's.
See, I could never drive a car like that.
Really?
Yeah, my brother used to have like the old school Bronco, like the big, like the O.J. Simpson
My
Bronco,
dream
but my brother's was black, and I drove it around. Like I thought I was gonna be like whacking cars left and right. I don't know how you drive a big car like that. I think it's as good as I am, like depth perception wise with anatomy. When driving a big car, I can't.
You get
like
used
the smaller
to
the
it.
car I could drive, the better.
Oh my gosh,
I would drive one of those minis if it didn't look
Oh,
ridiculous.
so I guess the
mini.
car is not conducive of male energy when it comes to your choice.
Not for me. So I have female energy. Is that what you're-
A Mini Cooper, really? I would never drive in a Mini Cooper.
I would just because it's easier. I think I would look. I don't even know if I'd fit in it, but
You would,
I would
actually.
look ridiculous driving around. That
Yeah, I don't know.
A little bit. Yeah.
minis.
But I love it. I watch all these movies, in Europe and everything.
Oh, yeah,
Because
yeah.
the streets are so much
Yeah,
smaller.
right.
Yeah, but
And
rent it. I wanted a mini, and Mike said rent a mini for 2 days, and I rented it for 1. I was like, I don't want the mini
Why?
anymore.
Smart.
Because a lot of sun coming in, the sunroof doesn't have. It's not a sunroof. It's just like this mesh.
Don't get
It's
me
just
wrong.
like-
I'm not going. First of
No,
all,
no, I know.
my wife
but
will
I'm just
never
saying.
let me drive a mini.
She's a
a
smart
mini,
woman.
any kind of mini car like
It
that.
might-
No, she's like, it's too small. I'm not going to go in that. Like,
Yeah.
It's a death
she
trap.
she likes a big car.
Yeah.
Oh, she does. Yeah. I like. I don't know. I don't.
I mean, I would drive a go-kart. I'm fine with that.
Oh
That'd
my
be
God,
cool.
you're so
I
funny.
love go-karts.
So.
So easy to park. I mean,
Yeah, well, especially in LA. Amanda, what have you learned? Like, what is something that you've really learned working with women and holistic? What is like the one thing that you've really learned? Because we get into these businesses and there's like lessons, I guess,
Yeah.
that we learn or things that we like. Wow, I had no idea.
Sure.
So what has this taught you, like working in the holistic field?
So much. Where can I get started? I guess I was most surprised by the miracle that the human body is. When I started teaching myself everything I could in 2012, when I realized that the doctors I was working with were really off. They weren't asking the right questions. They just had no idea, even things like inflammation, the red flags my body was giving. So I thought, I'm going to go and learn everything I can about the human body to save my life. So I just really kind of felt like if I didn't, I was never going to get the answers. There were just too many things that were wrong, right?
Right.
And I guess I'm shocked we see it every day with other patients. The human body just wants to be in balance. And truly, if we give it the support that it needs, it's not necessarily even a lot. It's amazing. All of the things that just women in the first, 2 months after explant, for me too, healed. And I hadn't even done anything yet. It was just my body saying thank you. Thank you for removing the root cause.
Yeah. I mean, the human body is it really is an amazing healer. I mean, that's kind of what you learn in medical school.
Mm-hmm.
It's really, I mean, you learn in medical school how impressive the body is, but you also learn how things can go wrong very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a little bit of a surprise that there's not more things that go wrong
Right.
more frequently in most people.
Absolutely.
But like, there's just so many moving parts that there's always in any given human being, there's always going to be something that's not working right.
Right.
And it's just like, well, what is that for me? What
Yeah.
is it for you? What is it for you? There's
Yeah.
always going to be something.
Yeah.
People don't realize that. They just think that, well, I'm young and healthy, I'm going to always be young and healthy, but not everyone.
Yeah.
I mean, my daughter's got a crooked spine. I got to deal with that. Why? I don't know. But like, everyone's got something.
Right.
I had that scoliosis, right?
Yeah.
I wore a Milwaukee course, which I don't know if you know what that is. It's like metal bar. It was in
Yeah, it's a
60
br- it's-
Candles.
it's a-
Remember?
yeah, it's a-
right.
The metal,
right.
and she was at the water fountain.
Yes.
That was me.
Oh my
my uncle made boat parts, so he made me a special desk at school. Tell me how special I felt.
So-
A special desk at school and special wardrobe.
And how long did that screw you up for, wearing that? Like
Well, but-
mentally, didn't it create like? Weren't you like self-conscious about it?
I was.
Like,
Well, and
probably
I also.
more, and I think like more than even the scoliosis, right?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah,
like,
it's
especially
like-
because anyone who's going through that, most people are teenagers when it happens.
Well, and because that guy on the football team broke up with me when I showed up with my Milwaukee course.
Really?
Yeah, but my
That's
my
a
idea is
picture.
like he peaked in junior high school, so I don't care. That was his big. No, but
Wow.
after a year, I'm so glad I did it.
Yeah.
I'm so glad I did it. But
'Cause
they
you
have
you
different.
didn't have to have surgery, so you got it.
No,
right, you got
but
it
they
in
have
time.
different braces now. That was like,
Yeah.
that was like old school,
school.
leather panels on the sides and this
Wow.
metal thing here and two in the back, and it came down to my hip
Yeah.
because they said I wasn't going to be able to have kids. My back wouldn't support it.
Right.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, things go wrong. Like the coding, our genetic coding it's just very easy to have a misprint.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
Yeah.
But that's why I knew something was wrong too. And if they even had said to me way back when I got my breast implants, well, you could develop autoimmune illness, you know what I would have said? I mean, A, thought I was invincible back then.
Right.
But two, I would have said, I don't have any family history. I don't. My family, I mean, my mom likes to remind me every day how great my genes are. And that might be true, but we really have been so lucky. My parents don't ever have surgeries or anything. We're very natural. We just eat really well, and
Well, that's good, and that's
We're
something to really like. Anything you could do to help your body is great. So
Absolutely.
holistic is great. Western medicine is great. When you combine both, I think it's really, really incredible. And not a lot of people are doing that. And I think that's the wave of the future of medicine, actually.
Absolutely, it is.
People are going to have
so.
they're going to be able to, pick
Yes.
like what works for them, because we're all different, you know.
women call all the time the office, and they say the reason why I called the office was because I saw that you have a holistic team.
Yeah. So
For sure. So
well, one more question.
Not because of me.
Not because
Not
of you.
because
No,
of the
no,
halo.
it's
Not because of
because you got a team.
yeah,
it's the herbs.
Oh,
The
yeah,
herbs.
yeah.
the herbs.
It's the herbs and the medicine, right? And the surgeon.
What's your question?
My question is tequila or vodka? It's very important.
Oh gosh, I don't usually drink hard alcohol, but vodka.
Oh, okay.
I'd love to love tequila, but I don't.
Okay.
It reminds
I'm
me
a
of high
tequila.
school.
Tequila, vodka,
Whiskey.
whiskey.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Excuse me.
Yeah.
What? Okay.
Do you have a cigar too?
Whiskey is not like highfalutin.
No. It's not, I don't know why. I don't know why I said that. I'm just
It's
like
not
not
like James Bond with a martini shaken,
That's
not
me.
stirred.
Yeah.
You know.
No, that's me. I
Yeah.
love a good
See?
martini.
Like, in your tuxedo. I mean, cowboys drink whiskey.
No, I know. Whiskey's just
Not
not
that
good
I'm a
for me. I
cowboy.
get very angry.
Oh,
Oh.
that's good to know.
Maybe
not-
maybe
yeah.
you're not drinking the right
The right
whiskey.
now. And we're talking about in my 20s Jack Daniels, so that's not
Okay,
good
well,
whiskey.
Jack Daniels is not the right whiskey. Please do not write in if you're a Jack Daniels fan. But if you are, then you don't know good whiskey.
Hey, I was 20. I wasn't
You're
looking
like, I
for
had
good
10
whiskey.
Jack and
I just needed something to go with the cigarette at the time.
And you're blaming the Jack Daniels. That's crazy.
Oh my God. Well, Amanda, it was so great to have
Thank you, guys.
I want one more question, and then I want you to tell our listeners where they can find you.
Okay.
Because you work so much with patients and people getting sick, and what do you do? Like, what's a fun thing that you do that kind of allows you to put back into yourself and have a good time?
Yeah, well, anyone who knows me knows how much I love working out. So I always do different activities, whether it's hiking, or I always try different sports. I'm going to maybe do a triathlon at the end of the summer. So those are the kind of ways that I challenge
You can do a
myself.
triathlon?
Oh, that's great.
We'll see.
I was actually considering doing that before I hurt my leg.
Oh, but we can fix it, and
But
you
then,
can get out there again.
but there's another issue is that you have to do an open water swim.
That is the part that gets me every
And team
time.
and training every morning.
And
Yes.
when you're doing that, you look like a seal, and I am not a fan of sharks.
Well, I know. That's the only scary part.
Swimming.
Well,
Swimming on the top of
I
the
would
water.
go to that just to watch you guys do it. I'll cheer you on the side as I'm laughing.
You'll have
my
drinks
ass
for
off.
us. You'll have your tequila for us. when we
Yes.
get out.
I gotta start.
And his whiskey.
And
I
your
gotta
whiskey.
start with like a 5 or a 10K.
Yeah.
Work my way up.
You remember Farah, the journalist that I introduced you to?
Yes.
She did an Ironman.
Well, she's badass.
She is. That's so
I
dope.
mean,
I don't know how she did it.
I mean, I'm not. I mean,
swam the ocean.
I'm
and
looking.
scared?
I'm looking at Jay's book over here. I'm not David Goggins. You know.
Yeah.
As much as I want to be.
Right?
You're like safety. All right. So tell our listeners and viewers where they can find you.
Okay. You may find me on Instagram, The Holistic Beauty Coach,
Or my office.
or
Just call the office.
call the office.
All viable options.
Yes.
All viable.
Or put up a bat signal
Yeah.
with the boobs with the
Yes.
With the heart.
That's
for
with the
nipples.
heart.
Yes.
That's right.
The hard nipples.
this could be a thing.
It might be a thing.
I think we need
We need to talk
Searchlight.
about this.
Yeah. I thought you were talking about the heart nipples.
No, Searchlight
Oh.
with the heart
Oh,
nipple.
with the heart nipple.
Yeah.
Yes, there you
I
go.
like that. That's going to be the
That
bat
could be the
signal.
thing. We could put it. We'll put it right on Roxbury. Just shout it out.
Beautiful. Oh, they'll love it.
We could do it. We could do it for the event in October.
I know, that would be fun.
Yeah.
I actually was thinking of that one.
Oh my God.
That'd be very cool. I think it'd be
I'm
great.
going to that event, correct?
We are all going to go
I
to
mean,
this
yeah.
event.
Okay. All right.
We're
All right,
doing it.
Amanda. Well, thank
Thank
you so
you.
much for coming in.
Thank you both.
See you next week.
Thanks so much for listening to Beyond the OR with Dr. Brenner. Make sure to subscribe, like, and follow so you don't miss any future episodes. In the meantime, hit me up on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Kevin Brenner MD and KevinBrennerMD.com.